Thank you, Mr. Badal. The last time I was at the press conference here, I endorsed the Change Guyana Party, and I mentioned at that time that the Change Guyana Party is interested to ignite the local economy, to free the private sector, to create jobs, and to return democracy to Guyana. I also outlined a little bit of history going back to 1964 as to the first time we had proportional representation, and that was the time when we lost representation from within the constituencies. And since then, the political parties have taken over, and instead of choosing a representative from within your community, which knows the people in the community, a person who knows the problems of the community, that knows the aspirations of the people in the community, to be able to support them and to provide them with the services they need, that we have lost since 1964. Instead of choosing people to represent us, we were choosing political parties. And then the political parties choose the people to go to Parliament. And those people do not necessarily represent the people of Guyana, and they do not necessarily represent the interest of the communities of Guyana. Guyana is, I think we all know, Guyana is very high on the corruption index. Guyana is very low on the transparency index. We see conflicts of interest everywhere we look. There is no area of calm and tranquility that can be found. We have high murder rates. We have high suicide rates. We have prevalence of spouse abuse, children abuse, rapes, and other forms of violence. Instead of the police being a solution, they are also a source of problem for the people. Hospitals are not capable to provide basic care. Accident victims in Skeldon ends up in Georgetown Public Hospital and either dies on the way or dies waiting for care. Foreign companies come to do business in Guyana. The government offers incentives, but nobody monitors and looks after the interests of the people. I mean, the most recent example we have is the case of Roussel, that has been here for 11 years. And 11 years has obtained in concessions more than $500 million in value. And what do we have in return for it? Nothing. And who was responsible for that? It's allowed to happen. The production sharing agreement with ExxonMobil and others add more to the mix. We built a sugar estate with $200 million and it doesn't work. The same people want to build a hydropower facility for about $1 billion that will not be able to produce electricity in dry weather. And everybody knows of climate change and the risk of severe dry weather in the future. The cost of we have been doing feasibility studies on a fixed-link bridge over the Demerara River for over 10 years, and we still don't have a plan, a date, or any feasibility that has been approved. We spent $150 million to renovate our airport when other people have built whole airports from scratch for $50 million. The cost of producing sugar in Guyana is higher than the price you can get for it. We know this 30 years ago, a long time ago. One government closes down the sugar estate because it loses money. Another wants to reopen it without any idea how it can compete in the world market or how it can make money. Every day you see more examples of the same problems. And all of these conditions are as a result of one fundamental problem. That is lack of accountability. If you put me to run the country and you tell me I'm the boss, I can do no wrong. And if you do wrong, nobody can do you anything. You have full immunity. And of course, anyone who carries out your orders, by extension, enjoys the same immunity. That's the kind of constitution we have. And the result of that constitution is what we have in Guyana today. That is a result of that. And because of who we are as a country and who our political leaders are, we picked up a few additional problems along the way, such as racial insecurity, racial discrimination and marginalization, corruption, nepotism, and gross incompetence. Let me be clear. The people who find this constitution unacceptable, the people who find it unacceptable, and the one who suffers from it are the people, not the politicians. Not the politicians in this country. The politicians in this country organize themselves into race groupings. These are closed groups, like a family. You have to be trusted to get in. You have to be like the rest of them. You have to work long and hard to get in. And when you do, you never have to worry about accountability. You enjoy the immunity of the leader. Have you ever seen any members of these groups get fired or expelled? You never hear about that because it's a closed group that looks after themselves. It is from this type of governance we get lack of accountability, racial insecurity and discrimination, marginalization, corruption, nepotism, and incompetence. Administrations change. We had a recent change 5 years ago. Yet you do not see the new set of politicians successfully prosecuting and bringing the previous administrations to book for any wrongdoings during their time in office. I'm sure this is not for lack of trying. It can only be because at the end of the day, immunity stretches and has a wide net and covers a lot of people. The Change Guyana Party is proposing the implementation of a new constitution. Such a constitution will be designed by experts to bring back accountability. In a democracy, accountability will be to the people. How will this be achieved? Constitutional experts will be organized to design a constitution which will be inclusive of the following, some of the following. We will go back to having a ceremonial head of state, a president, who must be untouched by politics. Before we became independent, we had a governor general. After independence, we have an executive president. Since the 1980 Constitution, we've been pretty much doing, the president pretty much had carte blanche as to what it is he does. We will go back to a constituency system where the people will decide by majority vote who will represent them in Parliament for each of the districts. Parliament will make laws to govern them. Parliament will make laws to govern the people. Such laws will take into consideration the needs of the people in their constituencies. They will also exercise, Parliament will also exercise oversight over the government. Such oversight is intended to ensure that laws are being followed and that the interest of their constituency is paramount. The people choose their representative. Their representative make laws, and their representatives oversight those who are administering those laws. So they're accountable to the people. It is very important to understand the link in such countries. No one will be above the law. The people will have the right to recall any member of Parliament for illegal or unacceptable conduct. Political parties under this constitution will have no role to play in governance or in the oversight of governance. Political parties will just be political parties to support their candidates. The people will decide by majority vote who will head the administration of governance. It's two parts. You have the people who make laws and then the people who govern based on the laws. A prime minister in this case. The prime minister will be expected to recruit competent people to join his cabinet. Members of parliament cannot also be in cabinet. That's a conflict. You can't make laws and administer the same laws that you make. So if you want to become a cabinet member, you have to give up your seat and someone else has to be elected in that position. Members of cabinet must be approved by parliament. Remember, parliament has the representatives of the people. And anybody who becomes a member of cabinet will have to be approved by parliament who has been elected by the people. And here again you go back, accountability to the people. Cabinet implements laws and policies through the public service. Actual governance is conducted by the public service. Members of the public service must be non-political. You must be serving Guyana. You're going to be well paid to serve Guyana, the interests of Guyana and the people that live there. These must all be career positions untouched by politics when governments change. The people must be assured that members of the public service must always act in the best interest of the people and the country. Those who are not prepared to do so must decide to leave the service. Parliament and cabinet shall set up structure for the administration of justice. I was looking at today's paper. Between 9 and 13 years ago, 4 people raped children. And today, after so many years, the case was dismissed. That's not administration of justice. That is not justice. Principles of justice and performance criteria for members of the judiciary must be clearly defined. Such principles and criteria must be able to deliver justice to the people without fear or favor and in a timely manner. I know of one case where a guy was charged for a traffic offense and he had to go to magistrate court 17 times before it was eventually dismissed. That's not justice. The president, the prime minister, and anyone who is appointed through parliament will be subject to removal by parliament. Parliament represents the people. The Change Guyana Party will have for you a draft of such a constitution before voting day. Such a constitution will return power to the people. Guyana will become a democracy. This will be the beginning to the end of racial politics, racial discrimination, marginalization, corruption, and incompetence. Should the Change Guyana form the next government or hold the balance of power, it will focus all efforts on holding a referendum on a new constitution, and if approved, will then work to have new elections in the shortest possible time under that new constitution. Guyana will become a true democracy. Vote Guyana Change Party to secure a democratic future for Guyana. Vote Change Guyana Party to end incompetence, racial politics, and lack of accountability in governance. Change Guyana Party, the right choice right now.